Good morning and welcome to another episode of Everyday Sunday. My name is Micah Coker and I have the honor and the privilege to serve as the Holly Pond Campus Youth Pastor. I'm so excited today to be able to talk to you about making better decisions than we did yesterday. We're going to look at First Esther. So I love Esther, the book of Esther. There's so many principles we can learn in that book. And one that stood out to me this time around reading through it was that how we need to make sure we don't make decisions based on our emotions. Make sure we're in the right state of mind. So we're going to look at Esther 1:10. So it says that on the seventh day of the feast, when King Xerxes was high in spirit because of the wine, so we're already seeing that he wasn't making a decision based on sound judgment, right? It had already been 7 days and he's drunk by this point. Um, he told the seven eunuchs who attended him, and he gives all their names, which we're not going to go through, to bring Queen Vashti to him with a royal crown on her head. He wanted the nobles and all the other men to gaze on her beauty, for she was a very beautiful woman. So you might think, oh, that's really sweet. He wants to show his queen off. He wants to show his wife off. Well, let me give you a little context. And if you've never had the opportunity, I really encourage you to dive into the history and the real meanings behind the book of Esther. Because what he intended in that time period, he wanted to bring Queen Vashti in front of all of his guys, all his buddies, and she was going to be naked, completely naked except for the crown on her head. I mean, who would want to do that? I mean, I don't care if you're a man or a woman, anything, right? You don't want to come before people completely exposed. So it makes sense what we're about to read what she did. So it says in verse 12, but when they conveyed the king's order to Queen Vashti, she refused to come. This made the king furious and he burned with anger. Well, I mean, of course. I mean, if he was in a sound mind, he's going to be like, well, yeah, I'm not going to, I stop and think for a minute and go, I would never want to bring my wife out naked in front of a bunch of guys. I mean, that's my wife. I'm here to protect her. I'm here to care for her. I would never do that to her. But, for him, he was already drunk as it was, and she refused his requests. So he's like, well, you know what? I'm mad now. So what does he do? So if you continue reading on in First Esther, he made a decree. Like he got all his buddies together, all his counselors, and go, "What am I going to do?" The queen refused me, and all his guys were like, and this is another principle in of itself is be careful who you listen to, right? Because all his counselors were like, "Well, if your wife refused you, other wives are going to start refusing their men, and it's going to be so bad around our kingdom. So you've got to make an example of her." So what does he do? So he makes a decree. He has it written up. In that time, when a king made a decree, you can't reverse it. So his decree was that Queen Vashti is gone. She's out. You disobeyed me. You're out. I don't want you. I don't want you as my queen anymore. So we got to find a new queen, right? So we go through and in Esther 2, at the very first it says, but after, here's a key point, after Xerxes, anger has subsided, he began thinking about Vashti and what he had done and the decree he had made. Uh-oh. So now we see after his anger subsided, after he was not drunk anymore, after he was not making an emotional decision, he goes, man, what did I really just do? I had this awesome queen and now I've kicked her to the curb. So his counselors you can read on in that his counselors like, uh-oh, we just advised him to do this and now he's upset. We've got to figure out something else. We've got to look at something else. And that's actually when they went through and was like, look, we got to replace her, right? We've got to figure out someone to take her spot because otherwise the king's upset with us. Our heads could be gone. We don't know what he's going to do to us, but we advised him to do that, so it's our fault now. So what I hope you see through the story is that when we're upset or we're angry or if something is impairing our judgment, it doesn't have to be alcohol. It could be anything that's impairing us. Maybe we went through a hard time. We're in an emotional decision. That first and foremost, we need to wait. You never make a decision. My rule is whatever the decision is, I don't make a decision if I can help it. I pray on it for 24 hours at least. And then I'm like, okay, so I've done this, I've done my research. Maybe it needs a little bit longer. It depends on how major the decision is, right? And then seek wise counsel on it. Seek people that you trust that's going to do your best interests at heart. Um, so I hope this was an amazing everyday Sunday. I love you guys. And I'm praying that today you make better decisions than you did yesterday.